What's up, YouTube? Nathan coming at you with another lab farmer video. This time, it's not Blade Vortex, but rather Spectral Throw. Okay, so I'm not going to go into too much detail right now. I want to do a run so you guys can see the character immediately and make the decision whether or not you want to hear anything else about it. What I will say immediately is I'm using Queen of the Forest and 2 Dreamfeathers to kill the boss, but you'll see me swap weapons through the run to a Dreamfeather and high evasion shield combo. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to mute the mic, hide the webcam, and at the end of the run, where the loot is, I'll come to you again. I'll explain what the character is, what the gear's about, and everything else. Alright? Alrighty. So that's the run. That's the character. Like I said, it's a Dreamfeather Spectral throw that emphasizes efficiently farming lab. There's other changes you can make to this character to make it end game viable for all content, not just lab. But as it is right now, it's kind of optimized for like movement speed. Alright, so let's get down to it. It's a 92 Pathfinder using 2 weapons. Well, I guess I should just call it a weapon swap, right? For killing the boss, I have 2 Dreamfeathers, and I'll quickly go over which gems are in the links as well. Pretty standard setup right here. The Enhance buffs the quality of Blood Rage and Lightning Golem. It's really only important for Blood Rage, though. You get extra attack speed from quality here. In the other Dreamfeather, we have Ancestral Protector for additional attack speed, Fortify, and Whirling Blades. Okay. In the weapon swap, I have a 3-link GMP Spectral Throw. As you saw in that run, a 3-link is more than enough to clean up some of the lesser mobs for Flask charges, which is perfect. In the shield, I have a 20 quality phase run to benefit the most from movement speed. As you may know, phase run gets more from quality, right? And again, you'll see a Enhance inside here to give us more movement speed and increased duration. Faster casting isn't too important with phase run. You will save some time, but that's not what this character is all about. This character is all about dishing out the deeps and having a decent time. It's a little bit less tedious than Blade Vortex, and I love it. So I'm going to start quickly firing through the gear here. Starkanjas, you do not need this enchant. Amulet, you're going to want flat lightning damage, crit multi, life, resistances. I needed intellect pretty badly for this character, so I got some on this amulet. Okay. The rings, this one's pretty decent. It's kind of like the whole resistance stat stick type deal. It doesn't really offer me too much damage, but it's got decent life, flat evasion, and obviously the resistances I need to get her done. Queen of the Forest, this is standard. I got a really well rolled evasion, Queen of the Forest. You do not need a 6-link. You can do this on a 5-link, but I would not suggest running this character if you're not funded. It's kind of expensive, but if you were on a 5-link, you'd take out increased crit strikes. You'd have spec throw, LE damage with attacks, lightning damage, slower projectiles, and LE focus. Okay, but yeah, the 6th-link is increased crit strikes. You could also swap increased crit strikes for added cold, lightning penetration. All 3 of those are going to be fairly similar in terms of damage. However, added cold may take the edge. But personally, increased crits feels good to me. So that's what I use. It's consistent. I'm realizing now I forgot to go over the gems in the helmet. So quickly I will mention that this is my aura setup. Okay, Herald of Ice and Grace. I evolved my own level 21 Grace, so that was pretty convenient. And I'm also shoving it in here with Enlighten and Empower. Alright, so I get a bunch of extra movement speed from a souped up Grace, and obviously the Herald of Ice is nice as well. Moving on to, oh, this ring, I almost didn't cover it. I'm all over the place here, guys, I'm sorry. It's an opal ring that I crafted myself. I know it looks weird. It's got only 1 line and the rest is crafted, right? But at the time of making this ring, there wasn't anything else available for a decent price. So I went ahead, I made my own with the stats that I needed and it's all right. You know, it gets the job done, so it's okay. Moving on to the gloves, I picked these up for 40 chaos. They're pretty darn good for this character. Not much to say here about these gloves. Pretty much ideal. In the setup, it's a cast when damage taken, a level 1 cast when damage taken, 3 immortal call. I'm trying to get this increased duration to 20. You know, pretty standard here. And also, there is charged dash in the gloves. And it's in the gloves so that when I weapon swap, it doesn't get taken off the bars, right? If I were to put charged dash in the Whirling Blades Fortify link instead of Ancestral Protector, when I weapon swap, it wouldn't be there anymore. So while it would be convenient to have a Fortify with charge dash, it's not possible. So the belt, I bought this belt for my Brutus Lead Sprinkler character, and it turns out to be pretty much perfect for what I'm doing right now. It's got T2 life, T1 strength, and obviously the strength implicit, right? So it gives me 131 life total, as well as a huge increase in damage due to the T1 increased LA damage with attacks. The resistances aren't too big of a deal, and neither is the armor. I usually don't even get hit, but when I do, I guess the armor is okay, right? Moving on to the boots, pretty standard here. These are probably the best evasion boots that cost 1 fusing orb, right? You can't beat these. You really can't. So I've gone ahead and enchanted these with 1 to 160 lightning damage if I haven't killed recently, which is perfect for Izaro because when you start the fight, you gain this buff immediately. So it's beautiful. And in the boots, I have a Orb of Storms, Power Charge on crit, Curse on hit, Projectile weakness. This is the bee's knees right here, boy. It is good. In phase 3, you may have seen it last fight. If you drop your orb on top of one of the fonts, you can get power charges before the fight even starts. Moving on to flasks really quickly, I have a Jade, I have a Stibnite, I have a Quicksilver, I have a Vinctar, and a Hybrid Flask. You could use a Life Flask, but I'll show you why I prefer the Hybrid Flask right now. With this much attack speed, you go out of mana pretty quickly, and what the Hybrid Flask allows you to do is pre-fire Spectral throws before Izaro even comes active. So that way, you don't have to completely rely on Leech to get your mana back, which more often than not isn't actually enough. So that's the gear, that's the flasks. You've seen most of the character. Moving on to the skill tree. Alright, there's only a few important things happening here. What you'll notice immediately is this big blue circle, right? This is static electricity. You may know it if you've played another elemental build. If you chuck it in this spot right here, it benefits from 80 dexterity. So you get a huge amount of flat lightning damage, which is incredibly important because the Dreamfeathers have no elemental damage on them to start off with. So it's important to get it anywhere else you can on the gear. So yeah, other than that, basically the skill tree looks like this. You take evasion, you take some life. You get Primal Spirit for the intellect, quite frankly, but the other modifiers help too. And then you come down here, Winter Spirit to convert some of your physical to cold damage, since we are doing more elemental damage than physical. Primeval Force, you take some sword nodes down here for crit multi, really helps out a lot. I personally take 1 mana leech node right here. The value I get from this is amazing. It's all you need. 3 life nodes here, really helps out with your Hybrid Flask. It says it regens 2088 life over 3.3 seconds, but I can tell you that this Hybrid Flask, it regens over 4,000 life in 3.3 seconds because of the flask effectiveness I have on the tree. So I take a Jewel Socket here and Heartseeker. On the jewels, you want attack speed and crit multi. That's it. Anything else is a bonus. If you want life, you can get life. If you want evasion, you can get evasion. But the 2 most important stats for damage are attack speed and crit multi. Coming down here on the tree, I also take Point Blank. With slower projectiles, you benefit greatly from having Point Blank on this character. It does huge amounts of damage. It's a more multiplier, and it's amazing. We sneak up here through the life nodes up to the critical strike nodes while dual wielding. These are pretty valuable. The build doesn't really take advantage of power charges all the time, so it's nice to have crit chance where possible, especially not having a diamond flask on the bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points to take bravery and art of the gladiator. It's pretty worthwhile in my opinion. You can even sneak that 5% life node if you're feeling like it. I don't personally take it because I'd get a little bit of extra damage here from the 16% additional, increased projectile damage node at the start of the ranger tree. Moving up on the tree, the Scion life wheel completely filled out. Almost mandatory on this character. If you take this wheel away, if you take all these points away, take Sentinel and this Dex node out, you're down to about 4,500 life. Alright, so this is pretty important to travel to. As far out of the way as it is, you kind of need it, unfortunately. Being at the bottom right side of the tree, you got to really travel for that life. So we sneak through the evasion nodes here, buff up the Queen of the Forest a bit, buff up the Dreamfeathers. We come up to here, we get Harrier. I take a 3-point jewel socket. This may not be worth it for you, but I had a pretty solid jewel to slap in there, so I went ahead and picked that one up. Also, True Strike. Again, we're not running a diamond flask, so any crit on the tree is very valuable. Obviously, this 1-point jewel flask or jewel node is solid. Volpact, of course. I have a Vinkdar in 2017. We're using Volpact. All right. We sneak through the evasion and life nodes, pick up Revenge of the Hunted, and then all the way through Forces of Nature for a little bit of penetration and a bit of LE damage with attacks. Very, very good. And finally, into the crit area of the tree, right? So we take coordination, lots of attack speed, some life, LE damage and crit, more crit, 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 attack damage, mana regen, int. This build lacks int severely, so anywhere you can get it is awesome. Come down here for that extra evasion scaling again, and finally into Blood Drinker for a little bit of leech and a lot of life. So that's the skill tree. There's really kind of a lot going on here. Static electricity, remember to pop that in there. Jewels, attack speed, crit multi, and that's it. That's the character. That's as fast as she goes right there, bud. You can change it up. You can put on a Tempest Binding. You don't need this helmet enchant. You could do it on a 5-link. It's not really budget friendly, but if you really wanted to try, I'm sure you can make it good. Alright, so I tried to wrap this up as quick as I can. Like I said, it's not so much a build guide as it is a character overview. But in the future, if there is enough people begging me to make the guide, I will do it. But this concept has been done before, right? This is nothing new. People know the interaction between Dreamfeathers and Queen of the Forest, right? They work so well together that it's been known about for a while. However, I'd like to think that my spin on making it a lab farmer is original enough to maybe make a guide on it. So maybe let me know. I could do a guide if you guys want it. What else? Bandits. On this character, I took 2 points. I killed all the bandits. I got 2 passive tree points, which for me at level 92 is worthwhile. If you were maybe a higher level or a lower level, you'd have to kind of weigh out the options yourself. But if I was going to choose any of the 3 bandits to help, I would pick Alira for crit multi, mana regen, and some resistances. So I'm not sure there's anything else to really talk about. I covered the gems, the weapons, all the gears, the weapon swap even. Maybe I'll show you the information here really quickly, what it looks like. When I'm killing the boss, my Spectral throw DPS unbuffed is 85k on the tooltip. You can see the crit is 48.3%. Now when I buff up, here's the tooltip and the stats that go with it. I'm not too much of a tooltip warrior, but I know some people find that important. So I can at least humor them and show it. That was obviously the tooltip without buffs, right? I still have Lightning Golem, Blood Rage, and my Totem. So you factor in those 3, and all of a sudden, we're chilling, right? That's just, it's good. It's real good. When I'm running, Here's my movement speed, 123% normally. When I phase run and flask up, it's 395%. Ideally, I'd like to be somewhere around 500% movement speed. But like I was saying earlier, this character is a damage monster, right? It's kind of amazing. The Blade Vortex characters excels at running quickly. This character excels at killing the boss fast and just being more enjoyable, right? So that's kind of what I tailored it to. If I wanted to get more movement speed, I would drop all this Scion stuff. I might take Sentinel still, but there's Celerity down here. This is huge. This is like 30% movement speed on its own, right? There's these evasion nodes right here. There's 5 points right here for evasion, 3 right here. You can get a lot more movement speed on this character while retaining the majority of the damage. Okay, so I think that's it. I've talked about everything. I apologize for dragging on, but I assume if you've made it this far, you wanted to hear most of that information anyways. So, as always, YouTube, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you didn't, I'm sorry. I tried my best to make it good. So thank you guys, and I'll see you around. Bye-bye.